Hello footy fans, welcome to another beautiful day in Melbourne for another episode of Bev's Footy Show. This is for after round 19, and let's get straight into having a look at the episode agenda. I'll be looking back on the round 19 results. It was another ripping and thrilling round of footy. I'm then going to have a look at the ladder. Then got the stats wrap up coming up, and then the 5 talking points of the week follows. And then to finish off the show, I'm going to get stuck into the round 20 matches as well as my tips for those matches. So a big show coming up once again. Let's not muck around. Let's get straight into the round 19 results. To kick off round 19, the Sydney Swans travelled to the MCG to take on Hawthorn. This was the second time these two were meeting for 2017. Of course, it was on Friday night, and it was a really good game. Hawthorn won by a goal, the final score being the Hawks 10-12-72 defeated the Sydney Swans 9-12-66 in front of 52,181 at the MCG. The second time this year that Hawthorn has beaten the Sydney Swans by a goal. You might remember that match where Roughhead kicked the winner at the SCG earlier in the year, and it's fair to say that was an upset because the Sydney Swans were favourites to win that game, but the Hawks came in and got the job done by 1 goal. The Saturday afternoon game, one of the 2 Saturday afternoon games I should say, was at Blundstone Arena in Hobart. North Melbourne taking on Melbourne. North Melbourne has built Blundstone Arena as their fortress in the competition, and they just proved that on Saturday afternoon, winning by 4 points. Defeating Melbourne. The final score, North Melbourne 11-10-76 defeated Melbourne 10-12-72. That's 17 straight wins that North Melbourne has got over Melbourne, and just under 14,000 attended this game at Blundstone Arena, which is a pretty good crowd considering there was regional and state league footy going on around the state. So well done to the Tasmanians there for turning out to that game. It was a beauty, just like last year's edition when those two teams met at the venue. The other Saturday afternoon game was at Spotless Stadium, where the Giants beat Fremantle by 12 points in a game that they really needed to win after having a pretty poor last kind of month or so. The final score being the GWS Giants 12-20-98 defeated Fremantle 12-8-86. Like I mentioned, though, it was only by 2 goals, and the match was played in front of 11,233 at Spotless Stadium. The Saturday twilight game was an absolute ripper. Port Adelaide taking on St Kilda. St Kilda had a 2-goal lead in the later stages of the 4th quarter. Port Adelaide kicked one, and then thanks to a beautiful tap by Patrick Ryder to Robbie Gray, who ran on and kicked the goal, Port Adelaide won by 2 points in a thriller. One of the best games of the year, it's fair to say that. Port Adelaide 9-9-63 defeated St Kilda 8-13-61 in front of 30,335 at Adelaide Oval, although some of the Port Adelaide supporters nicked off just right before the end of the game and missed Port Adelaide's comeback win. And so there's a lesson learnt there. Don't leave the footy until the siren sounds. The 2 Saturday night games, one of them was at Metricon Stadium between the Gold Coast Suns and Richmond. And, Richmond did concede the first few goals of the match, but they were able to win pretty comfortably in the end against the Gold Coast Suns. The final score, the Suns 10-5-65 defeated by Richmond 14-14 98 in front of 16,207 at Metricon Stadium. The other Saturday night game probably wasn't much better. Geelong comfortable winners over Carlton. The final score, the Blues 8-10-58 defeated by Geelong 18-15. 123 in front of a good turnout at Etihad Stadium. It's fair to say that. 3 Sunday games. The first one was against the Western Bulldogs and Essendon. Of course, these two were level on points, and if the Dogs were to win this, they were they would move up into the top 8 for the meantime until the West Coast Eagles took on the Brisbane Lions. But it was a really good game. The Dogs conceded the first 3 goals, but then didn't really put a foot wrong throughout the whole game, although Essendon did keep themselves in it and kept it quite close. They were only 6 points down in red time of the game. However, the Dogs were able to win by 30 points in the end, polling on a few goals before that siren sounded. The final score being the Western Bulldogs 19-13, 127 defeated Essendon 13-19-97 in front of 48,754 people at Etihad Stadium. And the crowd, the Western Bulldogs Essendon crowd, was the largest between the two sides at Etihad, beating the previous record of 48,728 in round 14 of 2001. So there you go. Those two sides putting on an absolute blockbuster and really attracting the people of Melbourne to the game. The other Sunday afternoon game was an absolute beauty. Collingwood got out to a 50-odd point lead at half-time and at the start of the third quarter, but the Crows ended up coming back, and Collingwood had a 6-point lead with about 20 seconds to go, but the kick-out wasn't great. It came straight back in, and Mitch McGovern marked the ball to draw the game with Collingwood. The final score being Collingwood 15-13, 103. Drew with the Adelaide Crows 16-7, 103 in front of 33,269 at the MCG. The third draw in 2017. How remarkable, of course, that Geelong GWS game was the first draw, and then Hawthorn and GWS drew a week later, and now we have ourselves another draw in season 2017. Absolutely remarkable. And in fact, if you want to know a fact, Mitch McGovern, who kicked the goal to draw the game, actually became the 7th player to actually do that. So to actually kick a goal on the siren, after the siren I should say, to draw the game. So absolutely stunning stuff there at the MCG on Sunday afternoon. And the final game was between the West Coast Eagles and the Brisbane Lions. Eagles win this, they go back inside the top 8, take the Dogs' place of 8th spot, and the Eagles won pretty convincingly, it's fair to say that, at home at Domain Stadium. The final score being 17-11, 113, defeated the Brisbane Lions 6-9-45 in front of 32,652 at Domain Stadium. I was hopeful that the Lions could take it up to the Eagles, but the Eagles proving too strong for the young Cubs. So that is the round 19 results. Okay, time now to have a look at the AFL ladder after round 19. And, look at this ladder. Look at it. It is absolutely stunning. This season, 2017, is probably one of the best I've experienced. There's no doubt about that. And look at how close it is on the ladder. You've got the Adelaide Crows just 4 points above Geelong on first. The Cats, of course, second on 50 points. And then you've got the GWS Giants, who are third. They're level on points with Richmond, who are fourth, but the Giants have a better percentage than the Tigers. You then have Port Adelaide in fifth on 44 points. And then you have 4 teams all level, fighting for a top 8 spot on 40 points. The City Swans in 6th have the better percentage out of those teams. Melbourne 7th, the West Coast Eagles 8th, and then the Dogs are the team outside the top 8 on 9th. All 4 of those, maybe 3 of those teams have, being the City Swans, Melbourne, the Eagles, have really testing games that could go either way on the weekend. The Dogs have a tough game as well against the Brisbane Lions coming up. That's not going to be easy, especially with their record at the Gabba of late. So you could say that all 4 of those teams have tough games coming up in round 20. You then have Essendon on 10th. They've fallen to 10th because of that loss to the Dogs. They're level on points with St Kilda, 36 apiece, Essendon having the better percentage. Then you've got Hawthorn in 12th, who still mathematically have a chance to make the top 8. If they win their remaining games, who knows where they'll be at the end of the season. It is going to be remarkable to see where they end up finishing in 2017 after their kind of poor start to the season. They're on 34 points. Of course, they have that 1 draw, 9 losses, 8 wins. Collingwood 13th, no chance of making the finals now, you would think. Fremantle 14th. You have the Gold Coast Suns 15th, North Melbourne 16th, so they're not even in the bottom 2 now, North Melbourne. They're level on points with Carlton, though, who are 17th, and then the Brisbane Lions are in that wooden spoon position on 18th, and I can't see them moving from that position. I think they'll get pick 1 in the draft. So that is the ladder. It is so close, so entertaining, so thrilling. It's scrumdiddlyumptious. It's just... there's no real other words to describe this season. It is absolutely phenomenal. Okay, time now to have a look at the stat leaders after round 19. This is the stats wrap-up, and you know how it works, so let's get straight into having a look at the leading disposals. First of all, Tom Mitchell, no surprise, leads the disposals and is probably a real genuine chance to win the Brownlow, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if he is in the top 2, top 3, or possibly even wins it. Of course, we know that Patrick Dangerfield ineligible now after that suspension. Talk about that shortly. But Tom Mitchell leads on 641 disposals. Second is Matt Crouch on 578. You then have third Zach Merritt from Essendon on 558. You then have Andrew Gaff on fourth from the Eagles with 550 disposals. Rory Lard is the next best in fifth on 547 disposals. The goal kickers, leading goal kickers, very interesting race for the Coleman medal at this present time. Joe Danaher leads on 53. He kicked 6 goals against the Dogs on the weekend. It didn't win Essendon the game, however, and he actually had 3 behinds to go with that as well. So he could have had 9 goals to end the game, and it could have even won Essendon the game, but he did miss a few. But he does lead the Coleman medal on 53 goals. Joint second, I should say, is Ben Brown and Lance Franklin on 51 goals each. Ben Brown is just a phenomenal forward. He kicked 4 goals against Melbourne at Blundstone Arena on Saturday. Lance Franklin restricted to only the 1 goal against Hawthorn in the Swans' 1 goal loss. Fourth is Josh Kennedy on 49 goals. He kicked 6 against Brisbane on the weekend. No surprise there. He seems to kick real big bags of goals each and every week, and he sits 4th on 49 goals. And then Tom Hawkins is 5th on 43. Leading marks, Sam Docherty leads the marks on 169. Second, Jeremy Howe on 144 marks. Third is Jeremy McGovern from the Eagles on 138. Fourth is Michael Hurley on 136. And then fifth is Joe Danaher on 130 marks. And then the tackles, Rory Sloane leads the tackles on 137. 1 tackle behind him is Brad Ebert from Port Adelaide on 136. Third is Clayton Oliver from Melbourne on 129. Fourth is Dave Zorko on 125. And then fifth is Tom Mitchell with 122 tackles. So that is the stats wrap-up for after round 19. Time now for the 5 talking points of the week. Let's get straight into it, and I'm going to start by talking about Nick Riewoldt's career. Of course, earlier in the week he announced his retirement, and it was no surprise considering the noise that has been going on the last couple of weeks surrounding whether he'll be there in 2018 or not. He won't be there in 2018. As I mentioned, he announced his retirement earlier this week. He's had such a remarkable career, it's fair to say that. 6 best and fairest, 5 All-Australian, which included 1 as captain. He took out the 2004 AFL PA MVP, and he was also leading goal kicker 4 times. And also a very interesting stat as well, marks on lead since 2000. He actually leads with 937. Travis Cloke, the next best, on 500. and 60. So he's a remarkable player. He's going to be really missed, I reckon, next year. And I'm actually going to be watching him not this week, but the next week in round 21. Very, very looking forward to seeing him play for one more time before he retires. And honestly, from my heart, I'm not a St Kilda supporter, but from my heart, I hope that St Kilda make finals and win the grand final for Nick Riewoldt's sake. How fitting would that be if he finished his career playing in a grand final and getting a premiership medallion to make him a premiership player? How remarkable would that be? It's probably sort of unlikely, but I tell you what, 2017 is popping up the impossible, isn't it? So anything is possible. It's fair to say that. But he's been a remarkable player. Of course, he was born in Hobart, moved to Queensland, and of course played 17 years with St Kilda. He's going to be really missed next year. It's fair to say that. Next talking point is, of course, the Patrick Dangerfield tackle. It's been a big thing all week. Ever since Saturday night, really, when it happened, it's just been the talk of the town at the moment. And of course, he got 1 week for it, and they didn't end up appealing or challenging the 1 week ban. And so, as a result, Patrick Dangerfield is not eligible for the 2017 Brownlow medal. And even though I kind of think if he appealed, they might have been within a chance to get off, I feel it was probably the right decision in the end, considering Dangerfield has already won a Brownlow, and also considering that he probably doesn't really mind too much. In fact, he probably cares more about the team and team rewards than himself in individual rewards. But just talking about the tackle, look, it's fair enough, it's in the rules. Yes, his intention wasn't to concuss Cruiser, but he did. And look, as the rules stand, it is classed as a dangerous tackle. He did everything he could to try and avoid concussion, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. And unfortunately he's been given 1 week, and other tackles this year have suggested that you're going to get at least 1 week for that sort of tackle. It's just, whether it's fair or unfair is another story, because it is in our rule book, but and it's obviously another debate. But unfortunate for him to get suspended. I'm sure everyone's hoping now that he doesn't win the Brownlow medal or come first, obviously, because he won't be able to receive it because he's got a suspension to his name. But I guess we've got to realise that. The tackle was dangerous. He did concuss Cruiser, and so, you're probably always going to get a week for that. So, that's my thoughts on that issue. Talking point number 3 is Ben Brown is one of the best forwards in the comp. I agree with that. I say yes. I think he is one of the best forwards in the comp. Well, he's in the top 5 of the Coleman medalists, sitting second with Lance Franklin, and he's had a phenomenal year in front of goals. Considering North Melbourne hasn't been at the peak that they were last year, his performance in front of goals and his marking ability has been absolutely sensational. Let's go through his year so far. So, round 1 against the Eagles, 2 goals, 1 behind. Geelong, round 2, 3 goals, 1 behind. GWS round 3, he only kicked the 1 goal, 2 behinds. He kicked 4 against the Dogs and 1 behind. He kicked 1 goal, 1 against the Dockers in round 5. Round 6, he kicked 6 goals against the Suns. He kicked 2 goals against the Crows in round 7. Round 8 against the Swans, he kicked 2 goals. He kicked a bag of 5 in round 9 against Melbourne. He kicked 1 goal in round 10, 11 and 13. And then round 14 against the Dogs, he kicked 2. Round 15 against the Gold Coast Suns, he kicked 3. Round 16 against Fremantle, he kicked 4. In round 17 against Port Adelaide, he kicked 3. He kicked 6, which was the best all year for him. He's joined with the Gold Coast Suns in round 6. He kicked 6 goals. In round 18 against Essendon, and then in round 19 against Melbourne's last round, he kicked 4 goals. He's kicked a goal every single round this year, excluding the bye. So at least 1 goal, I should say. So he's had a very good year. And look, I've been lucky enough to I was lucky enough to see him at his younger stages of his career. Of course, he originated here in Tasmania, where I live, and he he played for a club called Devonport, and then went to Glenorchy. I saw him. He was at his younger age, he was more a ruck than a forward. But then once he went to the VFL, he was more of that key forward. Played his role within a key forward. I remember seeing him play for Werribee in a VFL match. I think it was against Collingwood, where he played very, very well. And I always knew that he was going to be a real AFL gun, and it's turning out that way for him this year. He's playing very, very well. I think North Melbourne are keen to re-sign him very, very soon, and so they should, because he is a keeper. He is going to be one of the gun forwards of the competition for many years to come. I can guarantee you that. Talking point number 4 is the revealing of round 23 during the season is pointless. Yeah, I think it is pointless now, because we have that bye the week after. So why put clubs at a stress of organising travel plans for the last minute? To the last minute, when you can actually reveal the round 23 fixture when the actual fixture comes out. I think it's a bit ridiculous that that the AFL did that this year, and of course this is on the back of the revealing of round 23 just a day or so ago. I think it's a bit ridiculous when we have a bye the week after round 23. So yeah, just a little thing I wanted to add there for that talking point. By the way, it's of course round 23 opens with a blockbuster between the Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn. Of course, Luke Hodge's last game for the Hawks if they don't make the finals. But yeah, I do think that the round 23 revealing during the season is quite pointless. Final talking point is Carlton has had a successful 2017 season. Well, it's an interesting one, because they had 6 wins and 12 losses at this stage last year, sitting on 15th. This year, at around the same time, they're sitting with 18 games played. They're sitting 5 wins, 13 losses on second last on the ladder. Of course, joint with North Melbourne, who have a better percentage. But look, they've had a few NAB Rising Star nominations as well. So look, I think they have had a successful season. I think they've just got a lack of depth, which they need to obviously fix up during the pre-season. And that was kind of my thought at the start of the year. But they've had some positives come out of this season. I think Liam Jones, for me, especially being a Western Bulldogs supporter, has been very impressed in what he's been able to do to turn his career around. And now he's signed with Carlton. He's going to be one for the future. So and then of course you've got some other great players as well. Of course, Cripps has of course been recently injured, and then of course you've got your old ones like Murphy, and who knows where Gibbs is going to be next season, and then of course Savani as well, and then Wittering and of course the Casbolts. So they have a good side. I think they have had a successful 2017. Maybe not quite. Of course, we can't really determine whether they've had a successful 2017 until the end of the season, when we actually know their exact wins. They got 6 wins last year, only sitting on 5 at the moment. But if they can get more than 6 wins, then it's definitely a successful season in 2017 for them. But considering their lack of depth, I think no matter which way it goes from now and then, I think it still has been a successful season, but a lot to take away from the season, and a lot to think about, and a lot of improvements to be made over the of course the pre-season. But Carlton have had a successful season in 2017. I say yes, I think they have. We'll know more at the end of the season, of course. Okay, time now to get stuck into the round 20 matches and my tips. It is going to be another tough weekend of tipping. There is a very few amount of matches in this round that could go either way. It's fair to say that it all starts on Friday night, Friday the 4th of August, at Simmons Stadium between Geelong and the Sydney Swans. Starting at 7:50pm. You can watch it on 7 and Fox Footy. This is the first time these two teams will meet since that preliminary final last year, where the Swans smashed the Cats to make the grand final against the Dogs. This is a tough match to tip, one of the matches I was talking about, and well, the Swans have won 4 of the last 5 against the Cats, and look, I think they can bounce back from that loss against the Hawks last week, considering that also Geelong have lost Patrick Dangerfield, which is going to be a big loss for them. I think the Swans, I'm going to tip the Swans. I think they'll win. It's going to be a good game though. It's a hard one to tip. But yeah, I'm going to tip the Swans. I think they'll bounce back from that loss to the Hawks. So what a beautiful game to start off round 20. And then Saturday there is some ripping matches. The first one being at UNSW Canberra Oval between the GWS Giants and Melbourne. This game starting at 1:45 p.m. You can watch it on Fox Footy. It's going to be a really good match, this one. Hard to tip a winner in this one as well, I reckon. Could go either way. I'm going to tip Melbourne for this one. I think they have won 3 of the last 5 against the GWS Giants, and they've actually won the last 2, Melbourne, against the Giants. Of course, those were both in Melbourne, but yeah, I think Melbourne will get over the line. If they get Nathan Jones back, which I think they might do this week, then yeah, I think they'll win, and I'm tipping them to cause an upset against the Giants, who should be favourites, I'd say. The other Saturday afternoon game is at 2:10 p.m. against Essendon and Carlton at the MCG. You can watch this one on Fox Sports 3, and I'm going to tip Essendon, although Carlton won the match against these two sides in round 3 earlier in the year, but I am going to tip the Bombers to bounce back after that loss to the Dogs. If they do lose this, then you could probably kiss their final chances goodbye. The 4:35 p.m. twilight game is between the Lions and the Dogs at the Gabba. This game on Fox Footy, and I'm going to tip the Dogs, although I'm not really confident with this tip because the Lions actually have a pretty good record at the Gabba against the Dogs. They've won the last 4 at the Gabba against the Dogs, the Lions. And the Dogs haven't won at the Gabba against the Lions since 2009. That was round 20. So, yeah, the Dogs will be hoping to break that hoodoo, I reckon. And it should be a good game, but I think the Dogs will get over the line. Of course, the Lions did give the Dogs a scare earlier in the year at Bob Murphy's 300th, but I think the Dogs, of course, the Dogs won that day. I think the Dogs will win another one against the Lions on Saturday at the Gabba. And 2 Saturday night games to talk about. One at Etihad Stadium between North Melbourne and Collingwood. This should be a beauty. It's at 7:25 p.m. You can watch it on 7 and Fox Footy. I'm going to tip North Melbourne. They won the last match against Collingwood, which was last year. They smashed them. And yeah, I liked how North Melbourne played last week, and considering Collingwood drew the game against the Crows, blew a 50-odd point lead, considering the big men that North Melbourne have, such as Ben Brown, etc., I think North Melbourne will get the job done against Collingwood. Should be a good game though, and this game was a hard one to tip as well. The last Saturday night game is at 4:40 p.m. local, 7:40 p.m. Eastern. Fremantle with the Gold Coast Suns at Domain Stadium. You can watch it on Fox Sports 3. I think the Dockers will win quite comfortably against the Suns. Of course, they were only 12-point losers to the Giants in round 19. Sunday, there are 3 games. 3 beauties. It's fair to say that Sunday is going to be a day where I'm going to sit in front of the TV and watch all these games. The first one being at Etihad Stadium starting at 1:10, St Kilda and the West Coast Eagles. You can watch it on Fox Footy. And I'm tipping St Kilda to win this. They won the last time they met at Etihad, which was in 2015. It's the last 3 times these two teams have met. It's been at Domain Stadium. No, I'm tipping St Kilda to win. I think they'll win. Of course, Nick Riewoldt announcing his retirement, so they're hoping to get to the finals for his sake. The mid-Sunday afternoon game at 3:20 p.m. is between Richmond and Hawthorn. This should be a beauty at MCG. You can watch this one on 7 and Fox Sports 3. I'm tipping Richmond, not confident about it though. And the final game of the round is going to be a beauty. It's showdown time. It is the Adelaide Crows and Port Adelaide. This game at 4:10 p.m. local, 4:40 p.m. Eastern. You can watch it on Fox Footy, of course. It's at the Adelaide Oval. And the Crows have won the last 4 against Port Adelaide, so I'm going to tip the Crows to bounce back after that draw to Collingwood in round 19. So that is the matches for round 20 and also my tips. Really cannot wait for this round. And that is it for Bev's Footy Show for after round 19. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment and share this video. Subscribe to keep up to date with a new episode of this every single week. And of course, check out all my other content on this channel as well. And of course, if you want to see me live, then go to facebook.com/thebevshow. Follow the Facebook page and watch me live mostly every Sunday. So just check the Facebook page for details if the details are if the details are different. So yeah, go check that out, facebook.com/thebevshow. That's the Facebook page link. And until next time, I'm Bev. Enjoy round 20. Bye for now.